Welcome to my comprehensive guide on how to answer Waec questions on sequence of tenses. I am Rumeso Adeyemo with the brand name English with RMG, and this video is brought to you by Igato Virtual Learning Platform. In this video, I'm glad to share with you the rules, tips, and strategies that you need to excellently answer any question on sequence of tenses. Are you ready? So let's get right into it. But before we go into the questions, first, what is sequence of tenses? That is, when we say we want to talk about sequence of tenses, what do we mean? Sequence of tenses simply refers to the grammatical rules in English that guide the use of verb tenses in a sentence with two or more clauses or phrases which expresses different or same time references. I know that could be a whole lot to take in at once, so I'm going to explain in details. In English, the tenses of verbs helps us to communicate the time and the aspects in which actions are carried out. Such that when I say, for example, that I go to school, then you can tell that I'm talking about what is happening in the present. But when I say I went to school, you can tell that that is an action in the past. Probably earlier today, yesterday, or a few days ago. Then if I move on to say, I am going to school, you can tell that that is a present continuous action in the moment. What if I say, I have gone to school? That is a present perfect. That is something that has happened in the past and it is still relevant to the present. Then if I say, which is the last tense, I had gone to school, then you can tell that that is an action that has happened in the past and it has been perfected in the past. Do you understand? So, the tenses of verb help us to express the various time in which an action is carried out in English. So, when we talk about sequence of tenses, we are talking about how to use these various tenses correctly when we bring two or more clauses together in one structure. So, let's take this sentence for example. I swept the floor and Tade cooked the meal. In this sentence, we have two different clauses and we have two verbs. But the two verbs are both in simple past tense. So this tells us that these two actions happened in the past and it is relatively at the same time. So they are both in the same tenses. Do you understand? But if I move forward to say, to twist the sentence a bit, and I say something like, I had swept the floor before Tade cooked the meal. That means I have changed the past of swept to I had swept. That is a past perfect tense. But Tade is still in the simple past. So this is telling us that sweeping had happened earlier before Tade cooked the meal. Although both actions happened in the past, but one happened earlier before the other. So when we talk about sequence of tenses, this is what we're talking about. That is, we can have the same tenses in one sentence and we can as well have different tenses, which helps us to express different time in which actions are carried out in the same sentence or in the same structure. Do you understand? Please, if you have any question, you can put it in the comments. But let's continue. How do we know when to use the same tenses for the clauses in a sentence and when to use different tenses? Also, how do we know how to pick the correct answers when we have questions on sequence of tenses in our exams? So this is what takes us to the rules that guide sequence of tenses in English. Yes, there are rules that guide the use of sequence of tenses in English. So we are going to look at these rules with practical examples from the Waec past questions, one after the other. And we are going to look at two major types of rules, which is the simple sequence rules and the complex sequence rules. Don't worry, I'm going to explain each of that in details. So, rule 1, which is rules guiding simple sequence in English. So first, what is a simple sequence? Why do I say, oh, this sequence is a simple sequence? So a group of clauses in a sentence will be said to have a simple sequence when the actions depicted in the clauses happen at the same time. So that is, if from the context I can tell that, oh, these two actions actually happened at the same time, I would say that this structure or this sentence has a simple sequence. So how do you know if it happened at the same time or not? All you need to do is pay attention to the time of event that is expressed in the sentence. So you need to always pay attention to the context when you are trying to answer any question on sequence of tenses. Do you understand? It is very crucial to picking the correct answer. Pay attention to the context. So, rule 1, guidance simple sequence. So the rule states that when describing a series of completed action in the past, use the past simple tense for each action. That is, all of these actions has happened in the past and they happened at relatively the same time. So that means I need to use the simple past tense. For example, Ayo swept the floor and Tunde cooked the food. So these two actions is already in the past. So I'm going to use the simple past tense for both of them because they happened at relatively the same time. So in expressions like this, we say that clause A must equals to clause B. That is, both clauses must be in the same tense. So let us consider an example of this type of structure in the past Waec question. Kindly pay attention to the questions. So in this past question, we have Ali dropped the pot accidentally and it dash. So I said that when you want to answer any question, the first thing you need to pay attention to is the context of time that the sentence is trying to communicate. So now Ali dropped the pot accidentally and it dash. From the context, we can tell that the moment in which Ali dropped the pot and whatever happened to the pot afterwards is in the same moment. That is, they happened at relatively the same time. So that means clause A must equals to clause B. That is, the tense in the first clause must also be the same as the tense in the second clause. So in the first clause, we have dropped, which is simple past. A was breaking, B broke, C breaks, D had broken. So our answer will be what? What will be our answer? Should I tell you? Our answer will be B, broke. So the sentence will read, Ali dropped the pot accidentally and it broke. So the action both happened relatively at the same time in the past. Let's move on to the next rule, which is rule 2. So rule 2 states that when the context denotes a past ongoing action, in one of the clauses that show that two past actions happened at the same time, then the clause with the ongoing action takes the past continuous. You know what? I wouldn't want you to bother yourself about cramming the rules. Just pay attention to how applying the rules in the practical question. So what I mean by this rule is when the context tells us that, okay, the action in the past was an ongoing action, then it should also be in the past continuous tense. For example, I was washing the dishes when mom arrived. Was washing the dishes was an ongoing action, that is a continuous action in the past. But the arrival of mom was just a one-time action. So the first one, which is ongoing, is going to be in past continuous, while the other one, which is a one-time, is going to be in the simple past. Do you understand? So I'm not going to say because they are both in the past, then I'm going to put it in the same aspect, that is simple past, simple past. No. I also need to show the aspect that one action was ongoing, that is a continuous action, while the other one was just a one-time action. So let's consider this example from the past question. YCCE 2011 section 5 number 45. So we have the family dashed dinner when we knocked at the door. So dinner was an ongoing action in the past. So what is going to be our answer? A, is it the family is having dinner? Or B, was having dinner? C, had dinner? D, has had dinner. So what is going to be your answer here? Considering the rule and the example that I have just explained, which of these options is going to be your answer? So the answer is going to be what? B, was having. The sentence is going to read, the family was having dinner when we knocked at the door. Do you understand? I hope you are getting this right and clearly. If you are, you can put it down in the comments. And if you have any question, you can as well put it there because I'm going to be there to answer your questions swiftly. Again, kindly pay attention to how these questions are answered so that you can understand it better than just cramming the rules. So let's move on to the next rule, which is rule 2. Rule 2, rules guiding complex sequence. That is, when we have a sequence that is different from the sequence that we've discussed earlier, and then we say that, oh, this is a complex sequence. How do we answer the question? So first, what is a complex sequence? A sequence of tenses is said to be complex when the time of actions denoted in different clauses in the same sentence is different. However, there are a number of rules for you to follow so that you can tell the correct various tenses that suit each of the clauses. What do I mean by that? When we have a sentence, it's still one sentence, but there are two or more clauses, and these clauses are denoting different times of action. Then we say that this sequence is a complex sequence. So rule 1 for a complex sequence. So subordinate clause, that is, pay attention to the tense relationship between the clauses and use the suitable tense in the subordinate clause. So I want you to pay attention to something that I've been emphasizing since the beginning of this lesson. The first thing you need to do is pay attention to the sense of time. So let's look at this. The boy who stole the bag has been arrested. We can tell that the moment in which the boy stole the bag had happened before the police or whoever wants to arrest him would now say, okay, let's go and arrest the boy. Do you understand? So this is a sequence, or this is an order of action. One happened earlier before the other one happened. And since the action that happened earlier, which is the stealing of the bag, is in the simple past, then the action that happened later in the past, there should be a present perfect. That is something that happened in the past, but is still relevant to the present time in which the speaker is speaking. So we have simple past in the first clause, then present perfect in the second clause. So I hope you understand this, and I hope you understand that the major thing you need to do in sequence of tenses is pay attention to the time of event that the sentence is trying to express. So now let's look at an example from the past question. One of the muggers who snatched the handbag dash been arrested by the police. So who snatched the handbag? That's in the past. So what is going to be our answer based on the earlier explanation? Is it going to be have been arrested, or B, was been arrested, or C, is been arrested, or D, has been arrested? So this is a question from 2017 Waec past question. So what's going to be your answer? I want you to give me your answer. You can put it in the comments so that I can know that you are really engaging with this lesson. You know, as I've explained earlier, tenses also to communicate the time in which actions happened and also the order in which it happened. So, who snatched the bag? This is the earlier event in the past. So, the later event is what? The arrest. So since the earlier one is in the simple past, you cannot have any other tense that will follow the simple past than a present perfect, because you still need to show that, okay, this one happened earlier and the arrest happened later. Do you understand? So our answer is going to be what? D, as one of the muggers who snatched the bag has been arrested by the police. Do you understand? I hope you are following this lesson, and I hope you are getting the key lessons, which is to pay attention to the context and the time that the sentence is trying to explain or to communicate. So let's move on to rule 2. When describing a past action that occurred before another past action, use the past perfect tense, which is had plus participle for the earlier action. That is, when we've had the previous one was past plus present perfect. But now, when we want to say that these two actions happened in the past, like it's no longer relevant to the present. Now, let's look at an example. I had taken lunch before I went to the market. Both actions happened in the past, but one happened earlier before the other. So you say, I had taken lunch, past perfect, before I went to the market, simple past. Do you understand? Let's consider a question from the Waec past question. So we have YSSE 2020, section 5, number 43. We got to the hall after the play dash started. So we have which of these, the first thing is pay attention to the context. So which of these actions happened first in the past and which one happened later? So we can tell that the play started first in the past before they got to the hall. And the moment they got to the hall is already in the past, which is a simple past tense. So the moment the play started is going to be in the past perfect because that actually happened first before they got to the hall. Do you understand? So what's going to be our answer? Is it going to be the play is started, or the play have started, or the play had started, or the play was started? So the answer is going to be what? C. We got to the hall after the play had started because the play started first before they got to the hall. Do you understand? Do you understand? So sequence of tenses rules help us to communicate different time, whether it is in the past or in the present, in our expressions correctly. Do you understand? For emphasis again, pay attention more or pay more attention to how the questions are answered more than the rules. Now let's move on to the next rule, rule 3, which is reporting or retelling a situation, event, or an action. That is, when an action has already happened and I'm trying to retell it or I'm reporting it, how do I use my tenses in this context? So we have the rule, when the subordinate clause is in simple past tense, then the reported action or event will be in the past participle tense because the reported action or situation has occurred before the main past action. It's just similar to what we've done earlier. It's just that it's in different context. That's why I said the most important thing in these rules of sequence of tenses is to pay attention to the time. So if it is in the past, you use your past tense. If it is in the present, you use your present tense. Do you understand? So let's consider this example. She had studied English for 3 years before she moved to the US. So this is retelling what has happened before. Do you understand? So she had studied English. From the context, studying in English has happened earlier in the past before she now moved to the US, which is an action that happened later in the past. So the earlier in the past will be in past participle because I need to show that this one actually happened first in the past. So before the simple past action happened. So now let's look at this example from the Waec past question. When I came home, my mother asked me if I dash. So when I came home happened first. So my mother asked me, that is reporting or retelling what happened earlier. So my mother must have asked me this question before the moment in which I am talking about this action that happened earlier. Do you understand? So this tense must be in past participle. So is it going to be A, if I ate, B, if I was eating, C, if I have eaten, D, if I had eaten? If you understand the question or the explanation, what would be my answer? Because the action we are trying to pick an option for happened first in the past. So our answer is going to be what? D. When I came home, my mother asked me if I had eaten. It happened earlier in the past. So that is why my answer is going to be in the past participle. So let's move on to rule 3. Reporting or retelling a situation, event, or action in present tense. You know, the one that we said earlier, that one was both in the past. So now what if I am reporting it? It is in that moment that I am just telling you about it. So here we have, I am grateful because I won the prize. I'm grateful in this moment because of what happened in the past. So when I have a present tense, the other one which happened earlier is going to be in the simple past tense. Do you understand? Happening in the moment plus happened in the simple past. I am grateful because I won the prize. This moment, ham. The past moment, won. So let's look at this example from the Waec past question, 2016, section 5, number 44. She claims dash someone jump over the fence. She claims. The action must have happened before she can even make a claim. Do you understand? So that means the action is going to be in the past tense. Do you understand? And since this one is simple, is present, then I'm going to use a simple past for the action. Are you following? So let's look at our options. A, is it going to be she claims seeing someone? Or B, to have seen? C, having seen? D, to be seen? Which of these options is going to be our correct answer from the explanation? We know we are looking out for a simple past tense. So which of these is going to be our answer? B. She claims to have seen someone jump over the fence. Do you understand? I hope you've understood the rules guiding simple and complex sequence now. So if you have, let's consider a few practical questions from the past questions. That is the Waec past question. Are you ready? Because I'm excited to do this with you. Are you ready? So let's begin. Question 1 from Waec 2011 section 5, number 41. When I arrived, I noticed that he dashed the kitchen. A. Had swept. B. Has swept. C. Is sweeping. D. Will sweep. I told you the first thing to do, pay attention to the time. And then you pay attention to the first clause tense as well, so that you can know the implication of it on the second clause tense. So what is going to be your answer? Because I expect you to be able to answer this independently. What is going to be your answer? You can put it in the comments below. Okay, so I know that I'm still going to give you the answer because here is preparation for your Waec. Here we are preparing you for your Waec. So let's look at the sentence. Since when I arrived was what happened later and is already in the simple past. So I noticed that he dashed the kitchen. So that is what happened earlier before I arrived. So it's going to be what? A had swept. So the sentence will read, when I arrived, I noticed that he had swept the kitchen. Do you understand? I hope you get it correctly. If you don't get it correctly, maybe you still need to watch this lesson once again. I meant the rules. Maybe you still need to study the rules once again. So question 2 from Waec 2011, section 5, number 74. As they dash, the thieves broke into the house. So this is also one of the examples that we've done before. A, had slept. B, are sleeping. C, have been sleeping. D, were sleeping. So we talked about an ongoing action in the past and a one-time action in the past. So this is going to be what? I want you to pick the answer. Put your answer in the comment because I want to be sure that you really understood what I explained earlier. So it's going to be what? As they were sleeping, the thieves broke into the house, because the sleeping was an ongoing action in the past that happened at the same time that the thieves broke into the house. So because sleep was an ongoing action, then it's going to be in the past continuous tense. So our answer is what? They were sleeping. As they were sleeping, the thieves broke into the house. Do you understand? I hope you got it correctly. Did you pick D or you picked something else? If you picked something else, kindly watch the rules one more time. Thank you. So let's move on to the next question, which is what? Question 3. So this is a question from YSSE 2007 section 5, number 44. I know you now. I dash that you could be trusted. So, I've been saying it again and again. Pay attention to the sense of time, the mood, and everything that the sentence is trying to communicate. So if I say, I know you now, that means what I want to refer to next had happened before that now moment. So A, I'm thinking. B, think. C, had thought. D, I've been thinking. So my answer is going to be what? C, had thought. I know you now. I had thought that you could be trusted because the trust I had was in the past. In this moment, I no longer trust you. Do you understand? So, I hope you've understood the rules guiding both simple and complex sequence in your Waec grammar question. If you have any question, again, drop it in the comment. I'll be glad to answer your questions. Thank you for watching this lesson. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and kindly share. Share with your friends who are also writing Waec. Let them as well benefit. Thank you.